Welcome to Capitol Preview, a weekly bipartisan discussion with Iowa legislators about the key issues facing our state. Brought to you by Mediacom.
Good morning and welcome to Capitol Preview, a show that explores the issues that face Iowans on a daily basis. We have Senator Jake Chapman, Republican Senator from District 10, which includes Adel, Polk City, Urbandale, and Perry. We're going to talk to the Senator this morning and find out what he's working on up at Capitol Hill. So Senator Chapman, welcome.
Bill, it's always a pleasure.
And I'm just going to jump right in. We got lots of stuff to talk about this morning. So there's been some media outlets reporting that energy rebates may be going away. As the chairman of the Commerce Committee, can you confirm, is there any truth to those reports?
Thank you for that question, Bill. And yes, there is some truth to it. I think it's important, though, we look at the whole story. You know, Paul Harvey always said, and here's the rest of the story.
Yep.
Let's talk about the whole story. Yeah. As chairman of the Commerce Committee, it was brought to my attention that we have this energy efficiency program. And this was implemented back in 1990. The legislature passed this program. What this program does is it incentivizes people to become energy efficient, right? Through rebates on appliances. You can get a $50 rebate from your utility company on appliances, air conditioners, furnaces, those type of things. We've all seen it, we've heard of them, or we've used them ourselves.
Right. Yep.
The problem is people think that this is Mid-American or Alliant that are just taking money that they have and giving it back to people. And that's not the case. It's actually a tax that each individual and businesses are paying. And it comes to about $160+ million every year Iowans are paying into this tax to create this program. Now, what's really disturbing to me is my understanding of the history of this program is that it was passed in 1990 and it started showing up on the utility bills, right? And Iowans were very upset to see this tax on their utility bill, and so they flooded the Capitol and lobbied their legislators to get rid of this new tax on their utility bill. The legislature, rather than repealing what they had done, get this, they actually passed a law that says the utility company can no longer disclose this tax on their bill. So we have a law that says the utility company cannot tell you that you're being taxed. I can't think of anything, frankly, Bill, that's more repugnant, disgusting in the legislature than to pass a tax and then make it illegal for Iowans to find out that there's this tax. And so we're shedding light on this issue.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and so while people feel good that they're getting this $50 rebate, the reality is you're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars into this program, and now you feel good that you got a $50 rebate.
But you're just getting your own money back.
You're getting
right?
your own money back. It's a tax that's passed back through this energy efficiency program. Now, I'm not saying energy efficiency is not important. Certainly it is. And perhaps back in the 1990s, there was a real need for incentivizing consumer behavior to purchase more energy efficient appliances. I went to Lowe's the other day, Bill, and you can't buy a refrigerator that's not energy efficient now. Right. The market has caught up with that. And so the question remains, one, we need to have transparency. If we're going to have this program, it's going to show up on your energy bill. And as the Commerce Chair, I am dedicated to making sure we have transparency in what tax people are paying. Mm-hmm. Then the bigger question becomes, is this an appropriate tax, and is it doing what it was intended to do, and do people want it? And I suspect, I'm just going out on a limb, if we put it back on the utility bill, I think there'll be just as big of an outcry. When it was first initiated in 1990, it was a 2% tax. That tax limit they got rid of it through the legislature. They got rid of the cap. And so now it's almost 10% of your utility bill you're paying in this tax. So I'm hearing from Iowans as I've talked to people about this, and most are just as appalled that this is occurring. And so we'll see what we can do with it through the Commerce Committee and on the floor of the Senate.
Yeah, I think you made a great point of saying that most of these appliances are energy efficient anyway, right? You
That's
can't
right.
buy one that isn't energy efficient.
Yeah, and that goes for air conditioning units,
Right.
furnaces. I mean, you're talking about 96% efficient versus 98%. I mean, we're not talking about 80%
Right.
efficiencies like we saw back in the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah. No, great program. So I know you were the floor manager for the and an advocate, a big advocate for the fireworks. How do you feel the new firework legislation is working?
Well, you know, Bill, I've worked on that legislation for 5 years. It took 5 years since I came in the legislature, and we worked on it year over year, and we got the bill better and better each year. And ultimately, we got it passed, and this last year was the first year Iowans could legally, depending on their city and their community, shoot off fireworks. And to me, it was a freedom that most Americans enjoyed. 40 plus states already had legal fireworks. We joined the rest of America. We caught up. And, you know, overall, I think it's been good. I've heard from some constituents that are begging, saying, would you please just pass a law that says we're fine with the city limiting the use of fireworks, but just give us 4 hours. Give us 4 hours, 5 hours on the 4th of July. Let us celebrate the 4th just like everyone else is being able to. So we'll see if we can get something done on that front. But if you had listened to the opponents of fireworks, you would have thought the entire state was going to burn down. Everyone was going to end up in the hospital. And I'm not saying there's not a danger with fireworks. Certainly there is, and we want to advocate for safe handling and use of fireworks. But the notion that the whole state was going to burn down, I mean, now that we've had a year past us, that's not been the case. And certainly there's complaints, and I'm cognizant of those concerns. I don't want my neighbor shooting fireworks off at 2 o'clock in the morning, just as my neighbor doesn't want to hear that. But unfortunately, we can't legislate good neighbors and being respectful of your neighbors. So that's not what we legalized, and people are still breaking the law in some regards, and we need to crack down on those folks as well.
Well, you're a smart man. I'm sure you did your research on this thing. So how Missouri's had it for years. How have they handled it, and what's their status right now?
Yeah, well, I can tell you, so I have a friend in the legislature in Missouri, and they probably are the biggest opponents to what we did because Iowa money is now staying in Iowa.
Absolutely.
And and they saw a decrease, you know, in what they were able to collect from Iowans coming down to Missouri to buy fireworks. And so you're exactly right. I mean, there's a number of states that have had fireworks for years, and they've become much safer. You know, there's a federal prohibition of cherry bombs or M80s that people, you know, associate with fireworks. That's not what we legalized. It's illegal to have those, and manufacturing standards have increased and are much better than what they were, you know, probably when you were a kid growing up. And so we want to advocate for safe use of fireworks. We want people to have fun and celebrate the 4th of July as most Americans do.
Absolutely. Well, I learned something on that one. All right, we are seeing a number of cities using residential tax abatement programs. I know you have concerns about those programs. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So we have seen an increase in cities using tax abatements. And as far as the policy goes, I leave that up to locals to decide. The greater concern is how the school funding formula works. And it's a complicated formula.
Yeah.
But suffice it to say that when you have residential abated homes that bring new students into a school district, it increases, it has a direct increase on the tax levy rate for the school portion of your property taxes. In addition to that, the state backfills those abated homes when it comes to new student enrollment growth. And so we've seen a large increase in the state budget. We're paying about $17.5 million out of our general fund to backfill these abated homes when it comes to student enrollment for school purposes. And that's concerning because we don't have any control over that at the state level. It's just built into the formula, and we've seen it increase about $4 million over the last few years. While more and more cities are doing that, it becomes problematic, and so there will be a bill. I believe there's a bill in the House. There will be a bill in the Senate to address this concern, to allow cities to still use their abatement authority to abate their portion of taxes, but prevent it from abating the school portion, because that's really where the problems come into play.
Absolutely. So Well, Iowa passed the tax income reform bill. I mean, that thing is just red hot right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's a top priority for Senate Republicans. I know it is for us. If we do nothing, it is a tax increase on Iowans because of what the federal government did in being able to reduce income tax rates. And based on our federal deductibility, it has a straight increase in state tax on Iowans. It's important we get something done. We know that most job creation over the last 10 years has been in those states that have no income tax. Mm-hmm. And that is my end goal. That's the ultimate goal, I think, of most of us down there, is to eliminate income tax so we can be competitive with our neighboring states and compete globally, really. And the way we do that is we have to hold down government spending. I have proposed legislation year over year, and hopefully we can incorporate this somehow into our tax reform plan, that we hold down government growth. And we ought to tie it to household income growth. While household income growth has been steadily increasing between 2 and 3%, my bill says that we should grow at half what that percentage is. So if you have a 3% household income growth rate, we should only be able to increase our expenditures 1.5%. Now, why that's important is when you hold down government growth, your revenues are still going to be increasing. And so you create a very large ending fund balance year over year. The bill says we're going to take that pot of money at the end of each year and drive down income tax rates. And, looking out 10, 15 years, we can eventually eliminate all income tax.
Senator, we're handling some tough issues here this morning, and this one that I'm going to ask you about is no different, and that's the red light cameras. Those things are very controversial right now, and so why don't you give me your 2 cents on those?
They certainly are, and this isn't a new debate. We've had this debate going on for some years now. Senator Zahn is a big advocate in getting these removed.
Yeah. And
there's questions about constitutionality, right? Due process and being able to face your accuser if you're going to receive a ticket. There's other problems with it too. I mean, it's a civil infraction. It doesn't go on your insurance, and the reason why they have gone that way, some cities have gone that way, is because it would have never been upheld through the due process clause in our Constitution, and so now it's just a fine, right? And we had a number of senators that had concerns with banning the cameras last year. Well, we had a city in eastern Iowa do debt collection on these folks that they had given citations to. And so some of those senators have had a change of heart, and they've said we're going to support eliminating these cameras. Statistical data came out showing that some of these intersections where there was cameras up actually increased the number of accidents. Right? If this is about safety, that's not a good statistic to have on your record showing that they're increasing accidents. So I do believe there's a very high likelihood the legislature will pass a bill to remove the cameras. We want people to be safe. We want them driving safely, but we also want to respect their constitutional rights to due process. And let's just say what it is. This is about revenue for cities.
Yeah.
This isn't about safety. It's about collecting revenue. And I think it's been disingenuous for a number of cities to say otherwise. And I've heard from constituents saying it's time to get rid of these cameras. And so I think the legislature will take action and get rid of them this year. I'm hopeful.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you joining us here this morning, Senator Chapman. It was a great conversation. So I look forward to talking to you again in the future while the legislature is in session. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us on another edition of Capitol Preview. We'll see you later.